Okay, so centre half, probably the position that Wolves fans most want us to buy in, at least from what I've judged on Twitter anyway, to go next to Willy Boly. I personally don't think we will actually buy a centre back. Like I've done two of these videos, one on midfield, one on strikers, on the last few days. I don't think Wolves will buy a centre back personally. Obviously, Connor Cody's not, even with a new manager, he will stay. We won't sell him. I don't want us to sell him either, even if he doesn't play regularly. He's a good player to have around. He's a good ball playing centre back. No issues with him. Willy Boly, it probably depends on his injury record, but he's probably our most consistent centre back. Pretty locked in. Kilman, I think, has probably been our most consistent player along with Nuri in pre-season. This kind of feels like a season he needs to kick on with now. He got a healthy amount of minutes last season, and all his numbers are suggesting he's turning into a pretty decent centre back. The only thing that worries me about him is he's pretty bad in the air for someone who's 6'4". But that's something that will kick on with time, right? I think Roman Sise is a one player that most of our fans probably want to move on. I think he's a pretty good aggressive centre back, but even then he's 31. He's out of contract next season. But he's our only centre back that's actually good in the air, or at least good in the air from set pieces. There's no point selling him because you wouldn't really get any money for him. And he's our only properly aggressive centre back, or at least from last season. Obviously, Jason Mascara's come in. I think he'll be our only centre back signing, and I think with have done well. He's done in pre-season. The club can kind of just go, look, we bought this guy, we trust him. But I think there are good centre backs out there if Wolves do want to buy one. There's this guy called Jesus Vallejo who plays for Granada. No, I'm joking. We're not going anywhere near Vallejo. But obviously there's been some good centre backs that have kind of gone around. I wrote, I was doing a list of names for this video a few days ago, and Joachim Andersen was the top one. But obviously he's gone to Palace now. I think he would have been a really good signing. He kind of had all the right attributes, but it's okay. You miss out on them every so often. But I think his centre back partner at Fulham last season might have been a better buy in Tosin Adarabioyo. Now, I think this kind of the kind of pickup the Wolves wouldn't do, but probably should do. He's 6'5", so he's kind of got that physicality to him. He's better in the air than someone like Max Kilman for his age. To win 3 aerial duels, even for someone that's 6'5", in that your first season in the Premier League is pretty good. Most young centre backs have really bad aerial win rates. It just is always the case. He's a pretty decent dribbler for a centre back. He's okay on the ball considering how bad Fulham were last season. He's young, he's English, he's big. Right profile as centre back for Wolves. We won't buy him. I feel like that's pretty obvious. But I think he'd be a really good pickup. And I remember Romano tweeting about him a month ago. Apparently the asking price is, has a release clause for 10 mil. Would be an absolutely perfect pickup. Realistic, just ticks all the boxes. Obviously it won't happen, but I think he'd be a really good pickup. I spoke about Ozan Kabak before. Again, similar price to Adarabioyo, about 10 million from Schalke. Premier League proven, really good dribbler for a centre back. Although that's kind of boosted by the fact he's playing for Liverpool, right? Obviously at Wolves he probably wouldn't be that high. Really good on the ball. Again, for a young centre back, a really good aerial win rate. And the fact that some centre backs having 11 pressures to me suggests he's the aggressor in that back four for Liverpool last season, and obviously Schalke. And I think that's kind of what Wolves need. Coady and Boly are kind of sit off centre backs. You probably need someone that's a bit more aggressive in that too. Obviously, yes, and Mascara looks like he could be that. And it's kind of what Roman Sase normally does, but you do need someone like that. And Ozan Kabak would be the right profile. He's already, been in England for a bit. It's really low risk, and he's young, he's big. I just don't see anything bad about getting Ozan Kabak. Again, we're probably not going to do it. But when you look at the clubs he's been linked to, clubs like RB Leipzig and Leicester, to me that just says he's probably a really good young centre back. But I don't know. We probably won't do it. Another one I thought was interesting was Sven Botman. Again, probably won't happen. But he was a player that was kind of linked with every big club for a month, and then it kind of just disappeared. Sven Botman's one of those players that I think if Wolves really wanted a centre back, could get very easily. Lille are a selling club. He's got all the right attributes. He's 6'4", he's left-footed. I would like us to go and get a left-footed centre back. He's again pretty good in the air for a young defender, and he's a really good dribbler and a really good distributor from the back. And I don't know if you watched that YouTube video that Wolves put out where Connor Coady met Bruno Lage, but it kind of looked like to me he was kind of saying, I want you to take one touch and whack it. And that's kind of what Sven Botman's good at. He's a really good progressive passer for a centre back. pretty good dribbler, proven in a pretty good league. Obviously would cost probably like 30 mil, like if you wanted to make a marquee signing. Again, probably not going to do this, but I think it'd be a really good pickup. Papa Sise was one I thought would be a good signing as well. Probably be familiar to most people. He played for Olympiacos when we played him in the Europa League. 6'6", really big. Played in Ligue 1 last season. I don't know why he went on loan. I don't really know what the issue is there. But I just think probably a bit different to the ones I've suggested prior. He's a bit more of a willy boly replacement type, 3.8 aerial wins per 90 is ridiculous. And a pretty good dribbler out the back, although not really that good on the ball. Albeit was playing for a bit bad Saint-Etienne side last season. Could be an interesting shout. The fact that they loaned him out last season probably means you could probably get him for a cheap fee. Proven in a decent league. Wolves have a relationship with Olympiacos. Could be a pretty good move. And Unai Nunez as well. We were linked with him before. I remember last season, quite reliably as well. Didn't really play loads last season. Like, it wasn't a consistent starter all the time, but he's a good age, decent height. Has very similar numbers to Willy Boly, albeit the transition from Spain to the Premier League is pretty hard for a lot of centre backs, but could be a decent pickup. Another one was Issa Diop as well. By the way, I saw this rumor like a week ago. This would be a terrible signing for Wolves, in my opinion. He's already on quite big wages because he's already in the Premier League, so you'd probably have to match those. And all his numbers aren't that good. For someone who's 6'4", just under 2 aerial duels, 1 per 90 is not great. Especially when you're playing a David Moyes West Ham side, you'd expect them to be really high, kind of like Craig Dawson's numbers. They're just not. He's not really a high pressing defender. He's not like a defender that comes out like Roman Sise, for example. He's an okay dribbler, but he's not like incredible. He's not a good passer. He doesn't really offer that much from set pieces. I just don't really see why Wolves would be interested in Issa Diop. It seemed like a really weird rumour, that would be a terrible signing for Wolves, in my opinion. And finally, Marc-Oliver Kemp, I thought would be a pretty decent shout. Like, really jacked numbers. Obviously playing the back three for Stuttgart last season. Really good in the air. Really high tackle and interceptions numbers. Really good passer and dribbler. Got a decent amount of goals and assists from set pieces. It just would make perfect sense. But obviously Wolves won't sign players like this. But yeah, to conclude, I feel like there are really good centre-backs options out there. I think Adebayo and Ozan Kabak for me would be the two realistic ones that you could look at and go, they're probably available for cheap fees. They're both kind of decently aggressive centre-backs who are showing all the good signs that they can become world-class centre-backs one day. I don't think Wolves will buy a centre-back. I think it'll be the same kind of four that we're used to: Kilman, Sise, Coady and Boly, and then Jess and Mosquera, and then Dendonk if you really need one. But yeah, I think there are good centre-backs options out there if we want to buy one, but I don't think we will. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.